Guys, this is Jay here. Kangaroos, koalas, Steve Irwin impersonations. This is a chat with Jay, the Robin Hood effect, whatever you want to call it. But we're chatting to so many great people the last couple of weeks. Over in America, we had Andrew Profaci. We had a couple of people from Singapore, Hani Chang. Now, I'm back home in Australia, and I've got Mish, the lady or the girl with the intuition. She's a psychic medium. I've seen a few of her videos, and I think reason why I asked her on today is because a lot of people are very, very interested. They're very closeted about it in some ways, but you pull out a pack of tarot cards, you tell them you can talk to the other side, and I can guarantee you, you'll have so many people coming to see you. Mitch, thanks very much for coming on board to chat with Jay.
You are so welcome. Thank you very much for having me. And it's funny that you lead the line there with the tarot cards because 90% of the readings I do are actually intuitive readings, so I don't actually use cards at
Well,
all.
there you go. There you go.
So, yes, the girl
Tell
with
us
the
about yourself. Tell us
intuition.
what. Tell us. I mean, no tarot cards, psychic medium. I mean, a lot of people are fascinated with talking to the other side. We got a friend of ours, Raylene Cable, who was on
Yes.
the show. I think it was Psychic Investigators. I think she was on. We saw her a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, so you probably know who she is. But tell us a little bit about what you do, because and people have to be very clear when they come and see you exactly what you do, because there's a lot of different modalities in this industry.
There is. I'm mainly a psychic medium. I do holistic healing as well. So those are my two main things. Mostly the readings that I do are intuitive. So I've actually had a fair few people around me that are in my spirit team that haunt me 24/7 that I can talk to telepathically.
Yep. Oh,
I've been
really?
able to, yeah, so that's a skill that I didn't know I had until 12 months ago when my grandfather passed away. I'll go into that a little bit later,
No
but
worries.
most of the work that I do is intuitive reading and healing. I find myself doing a lot of spiritual healing with individuals. I mean, they talk about that in the Bible with the seraphim, and the seven wheels is actually
Yep.
related to the several chakra points in the body and opening
Okay.
those and activating those.
Yep.
So that's basically what I do is I clear that energy for people. A lot of people aren't really aware of the repressed trauma that they may have. A lot of it's childhood trauma.
Okay.
So bringing those things up and getting them to clear that energy and allowing them to heal from that actually opens them up to an ascension point or like becoming more spiritually enlightened, so to speak, to be able to free themselves and be able to express, that spirituality within, which is where we all need to get to at the end of the day, is having that feeling of being in touch with spirit again. I mean, a lot of people, it's interesting statistically to look at a lot of young people at the moment are actually turning back to Christianity and Catholicism here in Australia.
Yep.
I've seen that a lot in the last 12 months. People that you never thought would be inclined to step foot in a church or a religious faculty are slowly migrating back to finding themselves. And I think that comes from a place of a lot of religious trauma that's happened in Australia. Probably we've
Mm.
seen that over the last 15 to 20 years, things that have happened that haven't been so nice.
Yeah.
But now we're migrating into sort of a new age, if you want to put it politely,
Yeah.
with spiritualism. I mean, it was meant to happen. The funniest thing is that the dead that I talk to and everyone who comes through, like, this was meant to happen in the 70s and it got mucked up and it didn't happen on time. But now we are moving into that age. A lot of it has to do with communication with AI as well. I think we see a lot of, yeah, obviously videos and posts on Facebook, TikTok, all of those sort of modalities where people are actually reaching out with AI and ascending their consciousness purely because AI allows us to ask questions that we might predispose as silly or stupid with other people. So that's actually moving things up at like quite an awesome but alarming rate, especially with like Schumann resonance and stuff, seeing the spikes in that, the consciousness points. There's been so many blackout points in the last 12 months. Anyone who is quite spiritually enlightened, such as myself, getting headaches, feeling very sick, all of these symptoms that happen because we are actually operating off the Earth's heartbeat and not the artificial grid anymore.
Okay.
So these are all things that are
Wow, that's
so
a
relative
lot.
when it comes to spirituality. Yeah, so it branches off, but those are the main things that I do, mainly healing people and reading for past loved ones that have left this plane but are still very much here.
Fantastic. There's a lot of stuff. I think you're saying a lot of people are looking for something to believe in. And
Yeah.
this is where I come in with regards to talking to a lot of different people like yourself, whether it be Catholicism, paganism, even just spirituality in general. People are starting to find
Yes.
themselves. And I think what we're finding, I found since I had my issue 5 years ago, is really finding your inner voice and finding exactly
Yes.
who you are and sort of shedding that. Everyone goes, oh,
Right.
we've got a blood moon tonight. But we're funny enough, we're on a blood moon
I
tonight,
can't wait for it,
Oh,
to be
yeah,
honest.
I
Mum and I have
know.
4:11 a.m. tomorrow.
We'll talk about that later because I'm sure the spirits are
Yes.
talking during that. I can assure them
Oh,
that
trust
Halloween's
me.
coming up soon. So that'd be fine. But you can see a lot of people are looking for something to believe in, obviously, with everything that's happening in the world. Do you find
Oh,
that you get a lot of people asking for that and really looking for that little piece of happiness or that little piece of themselves, or they're really trying to, or
yeah.
they're actually sort of lost in some ways? And how are you
I
finding?
find
I
that,
know a lot of people go to psychics for I guess a little bit of
closure.
happiness or find someone.
Yeah.
What are you finding these days with people's ascensions?
Um, Guy, I just got goosebumps then. So a lot of the time, which is confirmation for me, a lot of the time people come to me for closure, just wanting to know where their loved ones are, where their
Yep.
life is heading, the things that they have to look forward to. I mean, a lot of people kind of get caught up in the 3D reality, right? So this is something that I
Yep.
talk about all the time, is the 5D consciousness, like the point of ascension. We're all stuck in a 3D realm at the moment, but we're ascending to a 5D. I spoke about it on one of my videos the other day, actually, but we're
Right.
all like a lot of people who are in a point of ascension at the moment. We're stuck at a crossroads because the 3D is leaving, but the 5D is not fully ready. So a lot of us are in the middle and we're kind of
Right.
just like, what do we do? Like, you've got government on one side of the world and nasty things happening that no one wants to
Yeah.
really, you don't want to acknowledge it, but you kind of have to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
we're essentially like, everything in life is pattern based. And I mean, we're obviously looking at a point here that's very timeline accurate and overlay with World War II. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's things happening collectively that actually can't be stopped, but they do help things move up on a ladder of like growth globally and
Yep.
coming together in peace. I mean, we're seeing, I'm getting goosebumps again. We're seeing a lot of that with the protesting at the moment.
Right.
That's just been amazing to see how much has been taken on board, and not a lot of it's been highlighted in the media because obviously media feed fear.
No,
But
that's exactly right. That's
there's
exactly
been
right.
a
Sorry
lot
to
of
cut you off there.
protesting. So
Yeah.
no, you're right. There's
Can I jump in on that one before, if you don't mind? I just want
yeah,
to ask your opinion on that. Sorry to interrupt you. You're on a
no, you're
roll,
fine.
but I'm very interested in what you just said because you brought up the protests, you brought up the rallies.
Yes,
Everyone, if you see my stuff, I'm very pro
bro. Yeah,
making sure people are well. We
human
know what the
rights.
problem is. What do you
Yeah,
feel? Do you feel as, because I mean, obviously we all feel differently. You've got your superpowers, as I call it. Well, I
yeah,
call it superpower. Everyone's got their own energy,
yeah.
what they feel, and how they're going with things. What are you feeling at the moment with regards to what's actually happening? Do you feel it's an uprising? Do you feel there's going to be worse to come? What what
So
what what do you think? So you're excited as well. I
12
can see you
months
ready to go.
ago, I'm so excited. So 12 months ago, when all of this kind of started for me and things really like kicked off, was when my grandfather passed away. I basically got booted up the arse by him, which quote unquote I've been told to tell people that as to what he did with me.
It's not
So
all that.
when he passed away, I unconsciously like was fasting for probably like, so I got back from Indonesia, had a bit of a like, obviously the funeral and everything's happened. I started being able to hear him speaking to me, so I was
Right.
actually viewing the body with my mum, and I could hear him and feel him next to me. And I said to mum, I said, he's here in the room. And people thought I was joking, but I wasn't joking. And after this has all kind of gone down, the funerals happened and everything, I started unconsciously like fasting for about 3 or 4 days. I'd had nothing to eat, was completely like dehydrated, whatever, and went through that whole point of like full Kundalini awakening when the Christos in the brain, like obviously completely peaks. And I remember having this moment where I started hearing 1,000 voices at once. So everyone started coming through. It was so loud. I heard my grandfather come through, my grandmother. I remember ringing my mum on the phone and I was channeling them. and it was coming through at light speed, and I was just like blah blah blah, like rattling all this stuff off. Then like consciously tapped into my mum, felt her emotions over the phone, and I started crying when she started crying. So all of this
Wow.
stuff started happening to me, and I was freaking out because I was like, what is going on? So I got absolutely booted up the ass. And it's funny too, because I was with my best friend, and him and I have had previous lifetimes together. Him as my husband, him as my son. So the two of us have always come back in contact.
Okay.
So when this happened, it was three people in particular that have been a part of my life for many lifetimes that we all met up again at the same point, and we all went through this ascension at the same time. And basically, I've already seen the light year speed of what's happening over the next like 10 years. So a lot of the stuff that's happening at the moment, people don't realize that this is actually a divide point with you've got people that consciously are aware, and then you've got people that aren't consciously aware. So we're in this point of divide right now where people stay stuck in the matrix over here with the non-ascension and the ignorance is bliss kind of factor. And then you've got a whole collective of people that have actually asked the deeper questions and won't kind of refrain when it comes to government. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that are rallying. Pardon me, they're the ones that are rallying. That's confirmation. They're the ones that are rallying together for freedom of rights. You know, they're the ones showing up, doing the Gaza like walks for the Palestinian people. Sorry, they're the ones showing up, advocating for people online. They're also backing people online. Like it's still, even though it's not a physical presence, it's still very much like enforcing their belief in a positive manner. You know, like backing people and supporting them from a distance is still going to show just as much as being present, if not, you know, being able to support and be a volunteer and things like that. So there's a lot of work happening in a realm of charity, so to speak, but it's not even just giving time in a charitable sense, it's showing up as a human being to another human being in that interaction point, to show love and support. I
Yep.
think that's where the biggest thing is happening at the moment is people collectively looking at their past and assessing their behaviors. And those people that are doing the healing are the ones that are leveling up over the next 5 to 10 years. But this whole world, people are in for an absolute rude shock when things change, which I've been told is in the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to have a complete reform of government. Everything will be overturned that we know it, or as we've known it. There's a lot of tension between Russia and the United States. I've already seen what will happen there. Um, so I'm not going to go into detail, but
That's
like
okay.
there's major events that will happen that are going to shake the world as we know it. So, and obviously Mother Earth is very angry at the moment too. We've had a lot of tectonic plate movement.
Yep.
So those things will all come in a roundabout way of history when we had flooding. So that's just a bit of insight as to the tsunami factors and volcanic action. Like there will be a lot of land mass that we know that will actually no longer exist in probably the next 12 months. So,
Wow. It's a
yeah.
case of it's a big case of I've read about all this kind of things that obviously I'm very, very close to because I'm thinking Mother Earth is the most powerful thing on the planet.
Yes.
I've
You
got
don't
one
mess with
question
her.
for you, which I'll hold off on that one when we talk about the psychic stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I've had it, but this stuff really interests me because we're looking at a collective. Well, I believe we're going from mind, which is your crown, which is your mind, which is your
Yes.
ego, into your heart. So there's a lot of healers like you and me are coming together,
Yes.
and there's a lot of
Yep.
leaders coming there. And I don't think people might get it. People might not think what's going on, but we've been on this path for a while, setting
Oh,
this up,
yeah.
and there's a lot of leaders in there. I think I've always said in with my crew on life theories that I do, big plug for them. Solomon in it's funny, you'll get this. I've got someone in Virginia, someone in Canada, Vancouver, my friend. So I've got Sarah in Canada, Vancouver, Virginia, which is Diana, Cortez in England, and myself. So it's like this big diamond. It's really, really, really bizarre. But
And the funny thing, the
there you go.
funny thing is,
Oh,
the diamond is the center of the heart. So everyone who's coming through collectively, like one message that I kept getting as well was restoration of the Southern Cross. So the crucifixion of Christ, the Southern Cross is actually the only crux in the hemisphere, and it's actually been astrologically pointed to be cast not just in astronomical alignment of Australia, but also overseas as well.
Okay.
So the reconstruction of the Southern Cross is basically like the crux. I kept getting arrangements as well, north, south, east, west, which also creates the kite, a diamond shape. There's a
Well,
lot
that's what
of
we
like
are. It's really weird.
yeah,
That's what we are. Yeah, it's a really weird thing. What I wanted
yeah,
to ask you, here we go. Now, see, I don't channel myself. I feel right.
yes,
I
yeah,
just feel, and I just go. I go with where I got to go. I'm aware. I'm very aware of what's going. So universally connected. You know, I know
yes,
where I'm going. But there's people with yourself. I see. I don't. I can. I get visions and all these kind of things to go and say, right, you should go here. You should go here. I'm getting guided.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but my thing is to be in the heart chakra and guide these people. You look like you've got this level. It's like being Storm from X-Men. I see, sort
yes,
of thing. Looking above. Would that be a fair assessment if someone were to sort of associate what you sort of do? So you've got that sort of override
yes.
of everything. Yeah. Want to do a big shout out to our friends and supporters at Liberty Bullion. Sammy and the team are the best gold, silver, and platinum traders in Australia. Make good choices, give them a call. Back to the show.
Yeah, yeah. So you're pretty spot on. Like I mean, having the Eye of Ra tattooed in the center of my heart. Obviously, tattoos have like an energetical imprint.
Yep.
I got called to do that last time I was in Indonesia. Every time I go to Indonesia, because my soul ascension has come from parts of Lemuria and Atlantis. Every time I go back to it, I go back to Indonesia, Bali in particular. Weird stuff happens, right? Like I meet these people who I've met in previous lifetimes. I get told to go places
Yep.
where people are that have done nasty things to friends of mine. Like I have all this weird
Oh
stuff happen every
wow.
time I go there. Like it's weird. And the Eye of
Wow.
Ra is basically the eye of God. And my name meaning as well means who is like God. So I've come from a very long lineage of Jesuit bloodline, if you
Yeah.
will. So my blood type is AB negative, which is the blood type that is out of this world, not normal. And I've had that feeling my whole life. I've always, as a kid, like this is something I have really good recall with memory as well. I'll be sitting with my parents and I'll say something like, I remember when this happened. And they're like, how do you remember that? You were like 3 or 4 years old. So I have a photographic memory when it comes to things like that. And I also have a lot of timeline overlays. I think this is pretty common for people with that AB negative bloodline as well, coming from that very far point back in the time of prophecy. Like we're still carrying that gene that is technically junk DNA, that science wants to relay it as junk DNA that is usage that we don't get to. But when you get to a point that your DNA is actually becoming crystalline, a lot of weird things will happen to your body, which is why I got that tattoo last time I went over to Bali. I got so sick. I thought I was like, this is it. I'm definitely done here. But my whole
Wow.
body was basically purging like everything and detoxing everything that wasn't good for me. Some
Do you
days I
think? Can I
feel,
cut you off there? Sorry to cut you off there.
yeah,
Do you think it's a? I mean, I call for an Indian sweat lodge. I'm very connected to the Native Americans, and you
yes,
know, I feel that being part of the earth, it was one of my strongest. If you're going to say my strongest past, everyone says American Indian straight away.
yes, yeah.
Right
Well, I've
now,
got the bone earrings in today. My father's very much the same with Native American Indian and shamanism and stuff. That's something that I've carried
yeah,
on from him too.
yeah. I was going to say to you with regards to that, do you feel that I had an experience last year when I was in Houston. I was in Hurricane Beryl, and
Oh
it
wow.
was an experience. Just quickly, it was an experience where I was basically locked in a room. I couldn't go anywhere. It was
Yeah.
too hot. Mozzies get stung. Keep the doors closed. No dunnies. No dunnies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say dunnies. Toilets, ladies and gentlemen. It's the slang word for toilets. Anyway,
Yes.
and I basically had 2 or 3 days with me, myself, and my thoughts. And
Yeah.
mate,
Yeah.
mate, I'll tell you, you're laying there at night going, number one, where the hell am I? All these kind of
Yeah.
things. Am I supposed to be here? And you actually regress into your
Oh, you
childhood and you
do.
actually look, oh my God. And it's just like, it could have been worse. I mean, obviously what you're going through, but do you feel you're getting a lot of people coming to you with those kind of experiences at the moment?
Yeah, majorly. I feel a lot of people get put on my path. A lot of them who have had a lot of childhood trauma. Like
Yep.
just to touch on like previous people that I've dealt with, having trauma that's like sexual abuse and things like that. I feel like they gravitate a lot towards me, and then I will have a past ancestor of theirs come to me and tell me about those experiences.
Okay.
Um, a person that I was like seeing actually before I started dating, I had his father come to me and he was very regretful and had said and told me things that had happened in his life.
Wow.
And I remember speaking with him and saying, this is what's coming through. And I'm getting an uncle's name and a cousin and who's this person. And he was like, what the fuck? Like,
You can
please
swear as much as
stop.
you like
He's
to. Don't
like,
worry about it.
yeah, he was just like, please stop. How do you know this? And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I need to tell. Like, the thing is, too, people don't realize especially when I'm hands-on with people, because I used to have a beauty salon. So this is kind of how I fell into doing mediumship full time was
Okay.
I'd be sitting with a client, not realizing, I was doing Reiki. So I was healing them while I was doing their lashes because I've got those healing hands, so to speak, the
Yeah,
light
I
workers,
get you.
modes and things like that.
Absolutely.
So I touched them and they're very relaxed and they would fall asleep. And a lot of the time I'd take on their energy and I didn't realize I was doing that. But what would happen was I would have the client in front of me and I would have a loved one of theirs in the room next to me. And occasionally I would feel a hand on my shoulder.
Okay.
And they would say to me, like,
Wow.
that's another thing too. When I channel them, they can actually move my body. If I'm in a relaxed enough state, they can talk through me and use my body.
Did you got so much to say?
That's
I'm so glad we got on board. This is amazing. You're
so,
flying. No. You're
yeah,
flying. What I will do, one more. I'll give you one more about that. I'm going to throw you a question. Do you have, before you get onto the real good stuff, do you have any people that come to you? I know there's a lot of people who are very, very skeptical, especially in these days and ages. I might as well
yeah.
ask you straight. I mean, they come to me and say the same thing. They're very skeptical, sorry, because I believe that people channel they don't realize what people are going through at the time. And then if they
Yeah,
don't, if they're a reader and they read their energy, they're reading the energy at the current state. If you get where
yeah,
I'm going.
yeah,
So they've already got
yeah.
trauma, they haven't dealt with it. They're reading them right then and there. They're coming for information about 10 years back or whatever. It's a bit more instead of actually going right in where I'm sure that seems like what you're doing. You're sort of skipping what's happening in front of you and going right into their
I go
heart chakra. Would
back.
that be fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically where the healing has to begin. I did a lot of regressional work when I moved. So earlier this year, I moved to Perth, and the only line in astrocartography for me that lies through Perth is my rebirth line. And obviously, we're year of the snake. I've got a huge snake tattooed up the side of my leg. So it was all just this whole year of transformation for me and understanding. And being in a hermit year as well, for me, if I look at my destiny matrix mapping as well, this year has been a massive one for me of understanding and learning universal knowledge when it comes to basically the heart. People don't realize the hypothalamus and the lungs are actually the first thing to develop in a fetus. There's a lot of epigenetic trauma as well that we carry in our coding of our DNA. And that's something I've fortunately enough had the blissful time of tapping into. So that's just like once you get to a point of ascension where you've healed your healing and your inner being and you've dealt with all your childhood trauma and things that you've kind of got to and you're like you've moved on, you're not sitting there pondering about it. I mean, that's the
Yep.
difference with the healing. I think a lot of people think they've healed, but they're actually still in that regressional stage of not filling out that emotion outward properly.
Yep.
Being emotional is such a big one too. I think for a lot of females, we've been masculinated in a sense that we're not allowed to show emotion, and having absence of like fathers and parents and things like that
Yeah.
has made it quite
Huge.
difficult to be expression.
Yep.
And men especially as well, because men need to cry. Like that's something I can really thank my dad for being very open and emotionally vulnerable throughout my whole life, because
To get
that
that
showed me
balance,
that
isn't
men
it?
need
Like,
to do that.
it's that
Yeah,
balance, isn't it? Like we understand. I think
yeah.
when you say masculine and feminine energy, they're really taking it as
Well, we
they put it
both have
straight to
masculine and
sexual.
feminine in our body, you know, like we're
Yep.
we're 50-50. I've spoken about it in videos and people have like perceived that as me being something completely that I'm not. But I've said to people, I'm like, I am man and I am woman, which means that I have yin and yang in my body. So we
That's
will
right.
obviously the masculine side, which is the right, is the receiver side. You'll obviously see Buddha sitting in photos depicting that with the hand. And that's the communication center of the palm, which is the crown. And then you've got the chakral points related in the fingers. We've got 114 points on our body of chakral points. So obviously this is all very related in Eastern like medicine and stuff, but the heart is the first thing to develop as a fetus. So coming to a point where when I do healing sessions, the heart is usually the main problem that's been wounded, but then I'll often see for women, mainly a lot of it is throat, third eye and crown damages, because for a lot of women, especially when you're doing soul regression work, which is stuff that I do with a lot of clients, a lot of us, and for me speaking personally, I've woken up from nightmares in my past life before, having like having men hang me for being a witch, being slashed in the right hand with the mark of the beast, and I'm a witch and she's a witch. And I've woken up from these dreams where I've had past life regression and witnessed myself being hung or stabbed in the back, you know. So for a lot of
I'm
women,
nodding. I'm nodding.
the soul has
I'm
reincarnated
nodding.
here, and we're so repressed from the throat up, right, or the heart up. For a lot of women, a lot of people don't realize they're actually closed from here down.
Okay.
So a lot of people, like, we're working on points that get thrown off. If I sit with a client, sometimes parts will be open and I can kind of tell which side it's been thrown out of, if it's the feminine, the masculine side.
Right.
But for a lot of women, it's usually the throat that's a massive problem, and the third eye, because they've been silenced from a young age. Like, a lot of girls are told to be quiet and sit still and look pretty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the throat blockage comes from. They don't express themselves or their needs. And then the third eye gets damaged because women are obviously intuitive. It was our job and our role throughout mass amounts of time in the previous historic text that we were the oracle, we were the priestess, we were the homekeeper when it came to spirituality.
Yeah.
Men would go off and fight battles and wars, the Vikings would, and women would sit there and spiritually tie down the house. We would have Norse gods that we pray to, you know, and especially like Roman Empire when that was falling as well. There were women obviously that were holding the fort in the home and creating that safe haven of spirituality.
It's a
But
big stability thing, isn't it? Big stability, like
massively,
for women.
it's
It's
just
a
it's just the yin and the yang of it, but we've
yeah.
lost that spiritual construct in probably about the last 200 years, purely because of war. And man, I mean, we've been in a masculine now for about that much time, and now
Yeah.
we're swinging back into the feminine side. So I kept channeling a message earlier this year when I was in Perth, and my father, well, technically yes, my father's children, my stepsisters, their stepfather passed away a few years ago, and he was a big rock and roll fan, right? So he was like, tell them all they've been living on the dark side of the moon, which meant in Pink Floyd term that we were living on the dark side of the moon, being that we were on the masculine side and we moved into the feminine now, where the color comes in, right? Because if you're looking at that prism on that album cover, it's when the light hits that point that the rainbow shines. So that's where the feminine comes in. I'm getting goosebumps. So I'm talking about this. So
keep
it's
going.
all
Keep going.
it's all moving in that light, right? Everything is exposed now. So a lot of the stuff coming in at the moment too, like I'm a Pisces myself. So when we have eclipses in Pisces, I sit there and rub my hands together because it's exposed lies.
Yep.
So hidden truths come out with Pisces. We're essentially the cosmic balance, the yin and the yang. A lot of people don't realize too, we're very earthly and cosmically attuned. So a lot of Pisces people, because we're the last sign of the zodiac, technically going off the 12 and not the 13 that was the original, but the 12 points and being the last sign of the zodiac, we have all wrapped in one. So we're able to tap into everyone wrapped into one. You'll find a lot of mediums, a lot of friends that I have that are in mediumship as well are Pisces.
Yep.
My grandparents were both Pisces as well. My grandfather and my grandmother used to talk frequently about their past lives and where they'd been. My grandmother's also a seer. My mum is also a seer, and so is my dad. my whole family comes from both lines. So we've
What's
got like
Charmed?
Romanian.
Can I ask
Yeah,
you? Did you use this to like Charmed?
I love Charmed. Yeah,
We can't.
Charmed. We've watched
This is
all
where it
the
all started for
series.
me and my kid as well. So we used to watch that, and I used
Yes.
to think, hang on, I used to always click. You watch. It's someone like when they tell you these days, right? It's like watching Back to the Future. If you watch it now with all the
Yes.
info we've got, and then you watch Charmed again, and the critical thing
Yeah.
for me is the last episode when they say this is the way it's supposed to end. Congratulations. When the white lighter says to Piper and Leo,
Yeah.
it is so like James Bron Pargon in there. You'd appreciate him. He's the one who was one of the producers or one of the consultants on that show. It's giving us so much information, isn't it? We've got about 5 minutes left on this episode, on this part.
Perfect.
So go for your life.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I've always watched those series, and there was one too. I think I can't remember what it was called. It was had a dark haired lady ghost or something, and it used to be on Seven. And I used to watch that religiously, like before 9 p.m. at night, and she'd find all the ghosts in the house and stuff. And yeah, that's been my life. So it's easy to relate to those things. And I think it gives people a bit more of a visual perspective, even though it's not completely legitimate about how we see them visually.
Yep.
I've had a few experiences where I have seen the physical spirit. But that's obviously very veiled. A lot of the times it's not something that's super public. Usually it's in hospitals that I see that happen.
Geez.
I hate
Absolutely.
them. So
Them in
yeah,
prisons.
it's
Prisons are another one,
and
eh?
Fremantle Prison. Don't get me
Yes,
started.
yes,
I didn't have to,
yes.
I didn't have to step foot in there. I only drove past there in Perth, and I got hassled by spirits that linger around that
Oh my,
jail.
yes.
So
Being a
yeah,
white
I've also
lighter, being a white lighter as we are, I took my daughter
yeah
there, and as soon as we walked in, straight away, being the pure white lighter, everyone
yeah
knows spirits go to that, just say,
they just go
hey,
boom. It's like a
can I
moth to a
channel through
flame.
here and come in, you know?
Yeah, moth to a flame. That's literally
Oh,
how it is. And they can
absolutely.
sense it as well. And it goes for people that have a lot of like dark entity attachments and stuff too. Like I found
Mm,
myself, and as well as my best friend, we found ourselves in a lot of situations where we've had to deal with the darkness for a lot of people and put ourselves into situations where people are being very lingered in the dark with drinking and alcohol and drug
yeah.
abuse and things like that because they actually need the most help, even if it's not going to get them out of that situation conclusively. It actually really starts to get their brain ticking about what they're doing and what's going on. I've had some situations where I've had to tell people that it's actually not them talking because spirits will body jump, especially when people are under the influence of alcohol. I've seen that happen a lot in my time, that someone will be talking and then they've lost of consciousness slightly and something will come over them and actually possess them partially and talk to me. So
Wow.
that's a bit stressful.
I've had one
So
person, I've had one episode, just to keep, I had one episode where I channel where I could feel in the energy at the time. There was someone trying to come through me because I had that because of what
yes,
I do. They try, but I blocked it. But then
yeah,
also I had an opportunity where I had to go up. I sort of visioned and I was upstairs, like having this dream, but it was real. We all know this for
yes,
me,
yeah,
and something was happening, but I actually sort of channeled myself to eliminate the problem. I'll leave it at that because I can't
yeah,
really say too
yeah,
much more because it's a bit
yeah,
private matter type thing. But
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
so
Yeah.
we're going to go into part two.
Yes.
What's your finishing argument here? What are we gonna find out in part two? So you've got this big collective consciousness. It's been wonderful. You're just a channel of it. Talking about this, that's why I picked you, channel of energy.
I'm just
What are people gonna know in part two?
in part two, you'll find out about how and what they do when they come over you in telepathy and how that kind of works, tapping into them consciously and seeing what's going on.
Fantastic. And also I want you to have a think about while the break's
Yes.
on is how do you know if you know someone from a past life? Because everyone goes,
Oh,
because I
I've already
believe in
got the answer
undivine.
to this.
I believe in divine timing. I believe in
Yes.
I
Yeah.
believe in divine timing. I believe in there's things people come in for a gift lesson or a gift lesson or a message, one thing or another. Certain things come about, and there's always a reason
Yeah.
why something sort of comes out. Yeah, the weirdest one for me, just to finish with this, I'm in the Australian Pat Benatar show. Suddenly in Charm, they're talking about Pat Benatar, and that just stuck with me for
Yeah.
years. For years.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm in the Australian Pat Benatar show at the moment. It's just like
The
people go
overlap.
crazy looking for
Yeah.
questions and stuff.
And that's the thing, there's patterns everywhere, but people usually don't have that ability to consciously pick up on it. So if you do, that's the part of the gift.
It certainly is. Michaela, thanks so much. Mish, well
Thank
done.
you.
I think
Thank
you're
you
gonna
very
go get
much.
some water because we're gonna fire back on number two. And
Yes, for
part
sure.
two's coming up. This is going to be great. Thank you so much. It's been great to
Thank
have
you.
someone to have a chat about psychic and especially your passion for it. It's really good because I know a lot of people, as I said, are looking for something to believe in. Part two coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Go and get your water, get your pen and paper.
Get
I reckon you'll
refreshments,
be a
get your
bit busy
snacks.
after this. We'll talk to you soon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Want to do a big shout out to our friends and supporters at Liberty Bullion. Sammy and the team are the best gold, silver, and platinum traders in Australia. Make good choices, give them a call. Back to the show.